So now we have arrived at the spherical coordinate system, and it's quite easy to understand the spherical coordinate system if we consider a globe. There's a lot of knowledge we already have gained about understanding about the globe, how do we locate a place, and so on and so forth. So that's going to help us out. Now we know that on the Earth's surface we have visualized longitudes and latitudes. Okay, so longitudes and latitudes help one locate the exact position on the Earth's surface. Okay, longitudes are the one which come from the North Pole to the South Pole, and latitudes go, the equator is a latitude. So now let us see how it helps us find the location on Earth's surface. So there I have here an example. On the globe, if I want Washington DC, then Washington DC is on 77 degrees west longitude, and we have the latitude is 39 degrees north. Okay, so intersection of both the latitude and the longitude will give me the exact position of Washington DC. Now here, when we are talking of a globe, we don't actually consider the radius of Earth. So to define a point, the point here is Washington DC. So to define the point, I just need the longitude and latitude. We don't consider Earth's radius from the center of the Earth, right? Okay. But when we come to our practical systems, when we have spherical objects and we want to analyze them, then the sphere that we consider may be of different radius, isn't it? We may have a small table tennis ball, it may be a tennis ball, it may be a football, or an air ball which is quite big. So they are of different diameters or different radius. So then if I want to do any kind of analysis on this kind of spheres, then I need to have information about one more parameter, that is the radius. So radius also becomes an important parameter. So I should know the radius. One should know or should have information about the longitude and about the latitude. So how do we term the longitudes and the latitudes in our mathematical terms? How do we formulate them? So we'll watch that now. So let's consider a sphere, and on the sphere let's consider a point P. Okay, and this point P is at some radius r from the center of the sphere, which is our origin. Okay, so this is the origin. Now, right now you have only information about the radius. You don't know as to where are the other terms. So all we know right now is to define a point, I need to know the radius. Okay, where exactly is it on the surface here on the surface of the ball? We are not sure about it, but it is somewhere on the surface because it is at some radius r, and this radius r is the radius of the sphere. Fine. So we have defined the first parameter that is required to define a point. Now let's look at the other parameters. So now I have brought you back into the HFSS environment. Okay, so we have the same ball with the point P. Remember that our point P is the yellow ball always. Okay, now We have already defined something called as phi when we discussed our cylindrical coordinate systems. Okay, how did phi move? Phi moved from 0 degrees to 360 degrees. 0 to 2 pi is its range, and it goes along um, as a movement of an angle. So let's just check phi once again. So your phi, okay, this is the reference. Phi always begins from the x-axis. So at x or along the x-axis, value of phi is 0. Now phi has moved some angle. Okay, so it turns around from 0 to 2 pi. Fine. So that's our movement of phi. Okay. So what's the other parameter? So we have two informations now. Okay. One is radius and the other is the phi. So angle phi will, if we watch this, see now for the point that you are seeing, so you see that the point is on the surface of the sphere at the which is equal to the radius of the sphere, and it is also on the phi constant plane. Okay, so right now I have information about r and phi. So if we look at this, I know that the point P is at this radius from the origin, and it is also, if I just draw this dotted line onto the xy plane, but I am now on the constant phi plane. Okay, this constant phi plane I can extend from the origin. This makes an angle phi from the reference x-axis, isn't it? So I now have here two parameters to define the point. One is the radius and the other is angle phi. Now, if I have only this information, then I know it is somewhere on the sphere, on the surface of the sphere, and I also know that it is at this angle away from the x-axis. But what I do not know is where is it along this. If I could draw a longitude, okay, which crosses over, which intersects with point P, then what I do not know is where is it, okay, where is it on this longitude. All I know right now is this angle, which can tell me precisely where it is, okay, on the phi plane, but I do not know where is it. Is it here on the sphere, or is it here, or is it here? Where is it? Okay, this information I do not have. So we are yet to find out one more parameter that can precisely give me the location of a point or precisely define a point. So who is that parameter that actually defines or gives me that information? That parameter is given by theta. Okay, theta will be an angle that is made by a plane. Okay, we call it as a theta plane. Theta is the angle made by the plane with reference to your z-axis. So that will give me the angle between the plane which goes this way. Okay, so I can tell exactly what is my theta, and that theta will give me information about the angle, how far is it from the z-axis, and intersection of the r constant plane, phi constant plane, and the theta constant plane will define our point. So I'll be talking more about theta so that I can give you a clear understanding of it. But right now, understand that to define a point in spherical coordinate system, you need r, theta, and phi. These are the three terms, okay, three parameters. So to understand more about theta, we have come back to HFSS. I said theta is a plane, okay, which moves with reference to z-axis. So as an example, first I will take a plane which moves with respect to the z-axis. So just look at its movement, okay. So this is theta plane at its reference at z equal to 0. Here the value of theta is 0. I have given some value to theta, so it moves down, okay, towards your right. So that's next theta value, theta 1. Then you have theta equal to 90 degrees. Now it is on the xy plane, okay, but it is 90 degrees. Now please remember one thing very, very clearly. Both in cylindrical coordinate system and the spherical coordinate system, the reference axis is always x, y and z. To define a point, I may require r, phi, z in cylindrical coordinate systems, and in spherical, I may require r, theta, r, phi and theta. But irrespective of that, we define phi with respect to the basic axis, that is, a reference axis is x. Phi is defined with reference to x. Likewise, theta is defined with reference to z. So all our understanding of these planes is always with respect to a fundamental axis, that is x, y and z. We do not have any phi axis or theta axis. So this has to be understood. So here I define now my plane, which is theta constant plane, is along the xy plane and the theta angle is 90 degrees. So now we are given it a further increase and there it goes back to z. So its movement is from positive z to negative z axis. Okay, so let's do it once again. 0, some angle, 90 degrees, some angle again, and back to 180 degrees. Now that is why you see that the range of angle theta is from 0 to 180 degrees, whereas the range of angle phi is from 0 to 360 degrees, isn't it? Okay, so you also need to understand that this theta plane, there's no theta plane the way I showed you, just like this, just like a flat board. It's actually visualization of theta is such that it is like a cone. Okay, so you have cone of different radii. Okay, so this is some theta. Now what will be theta here? Theta will be the angle made with respect to the x-axis. Okay, so this angle with respect to z-axis can vary. Okay, so then I'll have larger radii, larger radius. So see here, I'm increasing the cone radius, right? So I may even have it on the negative sign, right? So the cone actually, you can say it is blooming like a flower. Okay, see, it's blooming like a flower, and of course it's back. Okay, so now here you see that we have our point with r and phi distances, and this is our theta. So this completes our definition of point for a spherical coordinate system. You also observe that the point P is intersection of three planes. Which are the three planes that we have here? The r constant plane, okay, so that is on the surface of the sphere, that is the r we have taken, and the r constant plane is the plane where the radius remains the same all the time. Then you have the phi constant plane and the theta constant plane. That's the new term, that's a new guy we have introduced. Okay, so as usual, this surface is your r constant plane. Okay, so that's the first guy. Then you have your phi constant plane, and finally our theta constant plane. Okay, so anywhere that you travel on this theta plane, the value of theta will remain the same. Okay, it will remain the same. It is with respect to the z axis, value of theta remains the same. So it is theta constant plane. Now we have to define the unit vectors. Okay, as we have discussed earlier, the unit vector is the vector which is moving outside the object and also is normal to the tangent that is drawn on the surface. Okay. Now in case of an r constant plane, we know that the unit vector is ar bar and it is moving outside the surface, tangent to the surface. So that is the sphere here, and this movement, that movement of moving outward, is also termed as radially outward. So ar bar is said to be a unit vector which has a radially outward movement. So that's your ar bar. Okay, now this is a phi constant plane, and we know that phi always has a reference x and it begins from x and moves towards 2 pi. So its outward direction will be anti-clockwise, and so at the point, if I have to draw the phi unit vector, a phi unit vector, then I will draw it this way. So that is a phi bar. Now the third one is theta. Now the theta plane moves with respect to the z-axis. Okay, at the positive z-axis, its value is 0 and it starts increasing. So its movement is from top to bottom. So the unit vector, now if this theta value had to increase further, it would go downward. So a theta bar in this case will be in this fashion. So the three unit vectors that we defined is ar bar, a theta bar and a phi bar. Okay, so those are our three unit vectors. So let's add that to our list. A theta bar, okay, a phi bar. Okay, so that's our unit vectors. Now it's time for us to define the differential lengths. And in order to define differential lengths, I will need a small section of this sphere. You remember when we did cylindrical coordinate system, I took out a section of this cylinder and then we defined all our differential lengths and area and so on and so forth. So the same we are going to do here. So what I will do is I'll take out a section of the sphere and we'll discuss it. Okay, let's consider this section. Now we'll be doing the exercise of finding the differential lengths. Before we move ahead, let us quickly again look at the range of the angles because this understanding is important. Okay, first let us start with R. What is the range of R? R has a range of, the least value R can have is 0 and it can go up to infinity. Okay. What about theta? Theta we said is moving from z to minus z. That is from 0 it can have maximum value of 0 to 180 degrees. Right? Okay. So it is 0 to 180 degrees. Then what about phi? Phi has a value from 0 to 360 degrees. Okay. Now I can term this as, in terms of radians, I can say theta has a value between 0 to pi, and also phi has a value between 0 to 2 pi. Okay, so the range is clear. Fine. Now let's come back to our differential lengths. We'll use whatever we have understood now. We'll start with the easier ones first. Okay. Now look at the small section of the sphere that I have brought down here. Okay. Now because the section is small, it will have differential lengths, it will have differential area and differential volume. Okay. Now if the total length here is some, if the radius up till this point is, let's say, uh, is some radius. Okay, let us now look at the small length along the radius. Okay, if you move radially outward from this point to this point, right, it's a small radius. Now this is variation along the radius, so this is the same. So let us call that as dr. So this length, let's call this length as dr. That's the differential length along the radius, or incremental length along the radius given by dr. Okay. Now while I move from this point to this point, from this point to this point, I'm moving along phi. Okay, so this will give me d phi. Fine. So this will be refining d phi. Please note that I'm only giving the increment in the angle. I'm not yet defining the length here in this case, because this is phi, and okay, maybe I should change the placement of my d phi. I'll apply correction to that. Okay. Okay, so my d phi will be, this is the angle d phi. Okay, if this is phi, this is d phi, and if this is theta, the small angle will be d theta, right? So now we already have one length, that is dr, that's the incremental length. Let us look at phi, because that's the simpler one. How do I measure this length? This length. Remember our discussion of cylindrical coordinate system. This is an arc length. Okay, it's an arc length. So arc length is always equal to radius into the angle. Okay, so what is the radius here? What is this radius? So it is dr. Okay, small incremental radius dr. And okay, so in this case, what is the distance from the reference? What will be the radius? In cylindrical coordinate system, it was very simple. Our axis was the reference, and that was the z-axis. So at all points, the radius is always along the z-axis, and so we said r d phi is our uh, arc length. But in this case, if you look at it, okay, if I'm talking of this angle to be d phi, this angle to be d phi, what will be the length? The length is with respect to the length of this will be the distance from the reference into the angle. So what is the distance from the reference? Who is the reference? Z-axis is the reference. Okay, so I now need to find this. Let me just change the color of my pen. So I now take this distance. Okay, so this is going to be the distance that I have to consider. Okay, what is this distance? Do I have it directly? Not directly. Okay, but I know that still this is d phi, this is angle d phi. Okay, how do I find this? Okay, now in order to find it, I know that this angle is at some theta degrees. This guy is at some theta. Okay, and I know that this value is r. This is r and this is some theta. Okay, so since this is normal, this is going to be r sine theta. So this guy will be given by r sine theta. R sine theta. So if this is r sine theta, that's the length, then my arc length, okay, arc length will be given by the length r sine theta into the angle, that is d phi. Okay, fine. Now this is the second length. What about the third one? Who is the third guy? This, I want now this length. This length is quite simple because the reference is the origin. Okay, so the angle made here is d theta, and so I can define this to be equal to angle into the length from the reference. So that is r d theta. So the three differential lengths are dr, I have r d theta and r sine theta d phi. Now if we know all of this, it's time for us to find the areas. Okay, so let's define the areas. So now I'm taking the same section once again and I have marked the lengths. Okay, so now it's time for us to look at the differential areas. So let's consider one face at a time and work it out. Okay, so let's consider the front face. I'm going to highlight it. This is our front face. What constant plane is this? It's an r constant plane because the radius remains constant. Okay, so let's call this as surface 1. Okay, so on the r constant plane, my dA for surface 1 will be, because r is constant, I will have here dAr, which is equal to, okay, what are the lengths? I'll have this into this. Okay, so that is r d theta into r sine theta d phi, which makes it r square sine theta d theta d phi. Okay, so now let us take the theta constant plane. So which is the theta constant plane? Either you take it the face that you cannot see, or let us take this. Okay, so theta constant plane. Okay, I'm going to just highlight it, this guy. Okay, I've shaded it fully, whatever I could see from here. Fine. Okay, now the two lengths is, one is the incremental radius into the r sine theta d phi. So who is constant at this plane while I move around here? Theta is constant. So I'll define a dA theta, which is equal to dr into r sine theta d phi. Okay, so I'll say r dr. Okay, I should have said r sine theta dr d phi. Okay. Okay, now the third phase where phi is constant. So the phi constant plane is the one which I'm highlighting now. Okay, so this is your phi constant plane. So AD phi, on this phase the area is the incremental radius into the length along theta. Okay, variation along theta, the arc length. So that is dr into r d theta. So we can say r dr d theta, right? Okay, now let us associate unit vectors to these guys. Okay, so I'm just going to change the color of my pen so that we are not confused when we look at it. Okay, so let's go back to our r constant phase. The r constant phase, because radius is constant, the unit vector is going to be ar bar and it is radially moving outward. Okay, so I will have ar bar. Okay, and if we consider the theta plane, so a theta constant plane, remember theta varies from z positive z to negative z. So unit vector is normal to the face and it is downward because unit vectors always move outward. So I have here a theta bar, and if I consider the phi constant plane, okay, now remember phi varies from 0 to 2 pi and its positive direction is always anti-clockwise, whereas here if the unit vector has to move outside the object, then its direction will be in direction of minus a phi bar. Okay, now the other face which we cannot see parallel to the phi constant plane that we can see here, that will have a unit vector of plus a phi. Likewise, if I'm considering the face which is the other side of this piece that we have considered along the theta constant plane parallel to this plane, the direction would be inward, I mean towards the plus positive z direction, and that's why it would be minus a theta bar. Similarly, if you would consider the bottom face where the radius is constant parallel to this guy here, this face, then that face would have a unit vector which is minus ar bar. Okay. So now let's go back to our areas and associate them with our with the unit vectors. So I can say, I'm just going to include a new set of equations here. So for an r constant plane, I will define ar bar which is equal to plus minus r square sine theta d theta d phi, and the direction unit vector is ar bar. Remember, the plus minus sign is associated with the unit vector and not with the area, the magnitude area. Okay, so likewise I have a theta bar to be equal to plus minus r sine theta dr d phi a theta bar. Okay, so I'll have a dA phi defined as plus minus r dr d theta a phi bar. So these are our differential areas. Now, having done the differential areas and having known the differential lengths as well, it's time for us to define the differential volume. The differential volume is product of the three differential lengths. So what are the lengths that we have? dr, r d theta and r sine theta d theta. So the product of this will be r square sine theta, dr, d theta, d phi. Okay. Now finally, we have to define the differential length vector. Okay, differential length vector is given by dl bar, and now this is the sum of the three lengths along the different unit vectors. Okay, so along r you have dr as the length, dr ar bar, plus along theta you have r d theta as the length, so r d theta a theta bar, and along phi the length is r sine theta d phi, so r sine theta d phi is the magnitude into the unit vector, so this gives our differential length vector. Now with this we have completed understanding of the Cartesian, cylindrical and the spherical coordinate systems. Now there may be a question that you may ask, that is there a possibility that I can convert a parameter from one coordinate system to another? Yes, you can transform the convert points, like for example, if I have a point in Cartesian, I can convert it into spherical, or a point from spherical coordinate system can be converted into Cartesian coordinate system. All our discussion regarding coordinate systems is summarized in this table for your reference. Now, having understood individually each of these coordinate systems, one may ask, is it possible to transform a parameter in a specific coordinate system to another kind of coordinate system? Well, the answer to it is yes, it can be done. The table that you can see right now is a summary of all the transformation relationships from one coordinate system to another coordinate system. The variables of the rectangular and cylindrical coordinate system are easily related to each other, and likewise the variables of rectangular and spherical coordinate systems are also related to each other. The table comprises of transformation of scalars from the rectangular to cylindrical and rectangular to spherical coordinate systems. It can also be observed that a transformation from spherical coordinate system to rectangular coordinate system, or a transformation from cylindrical coordinate system to our rectangular coordinate system is also possible. Not just that, the transformation of vectors from one coordinate system to another, for example, from Cartesian coordinate system to cylindrical or spherical, and likewise from spherical coordinate system to Cartesian or cylindrical coordinate system to Cartesian coordinate system, is also summarized in this table. The individual computations of each of these transformations is out of the purview of this video. These are the references that are used in making of this video content and also to prepare the teaching material. With this, we arrive at the end of our discussion on coordinate systems. Remember that visualization helps you appreciate the beauty of electromagnetics. Until next time, take care, be safe, and have a good learning experience. Goodbye. Thank you.